So there's this person in my building who's been putting out all this, like, basically trash, but, like, you know, things that they think people would want.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll just stay there for, like, a week, and then I'll just go throw it in the recycling.
Huh.
And then today I finally saw the lady putting it out there, and I was like, oh, I was wondering who's been putting that out there. And she's like, yeah, people really seem to be liking it. They keep taking it. I'm like, I didn't have the heart to tell her, like, nah, lady, I just let it chill for like a week, and then I go and throw it in the fucking recycling dumpster.
Good evening, and welcome.
Alright, we hooded up. We're out here. It's fucking 42 degrees in January. I'll take that.
Mm-hmm.
Take that. And we got a one-of-a-kind guest today. Can you believe it? Mr. Humble. What's up, Jeff? How you doing?
Peace. Good.
Nice to see you. Welcome to Golden Hour.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
This is like the 4th or 5th time we've tried to make this happen. But, you know, it's kind of a reoccurring theme over here.
Classic.
You know,
Classic.
but better late than never, right?
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Yep. So how you been? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Yep. Yeah, been good, man. Chilling and enjoying the winter for the most part. You know, pretty mellow time for me.
You don't, because you work on the farm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then the winter.
So I keep doing farm stuff throughout the winter, but it's pretty like slow going. You know, just doing deliveries and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. So you're down at the Intervale. You've been there for a while.
Yeah, for 16 years farming down there.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
You paid your dues.
Oh yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah. So what's your role? You just a dirt digger? Or?
Well, I mean, I started off there farming for Arethusa Farm. That was a vegetable farm, and just like working and doing stuff, and then like worked my way up to becoming a manager there, and then the farm went under because of the Hurricane Irene.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of other like circumstances connected to the owners.
Just got flooded, or?
Well, it got flooded during Irene, and then there was like some whole like shit that happened with like the like money that came in for like federal funding, and like my boss was like doing his own like bills and like books and stuff, and like did some
one
faulty,
for me, one for you.
did some faulty accounting, and he got slammed and shit. So, but then the farmland opened up, and I was able to get 3 acres and start a medicinal herb farm down there.
Sweet.
Yep. So that's what I've been doing.
So that's like your own business?
Yep. My own farm that I run.
Sweet.
Yep.
And is that something that you sell to people, or do you have like accounts, or how does that all flow?
Yeah. A lot of it goes to people that are like herbal tincture manufacturers.
Okay.
And I would work a lot with like Urban Moonshine, and did a bunch of collaborations with like Citizen Cider and Zero Gravity over the years.
Nice.
And then a lot of the herbs go to Rail Yard Apothecary.
Sweet. We got any herbs in these Zero Gravities here?
No, not this one. No.
No doubt. Well, for you folks at home who don't know here, Humble, Jeff, you know, whatever, Philly, he's a man with many handles here, but yeah, one of my favorite MCs coming out of Vermont, been coming up. We've been knowing each other since around like 2000, I want to say, right? Or whenever,
yeah.
Pretty much whenever you were at UVM.
Yep. That's when I moved up here, was 2000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And we used to always go to Cypher nights at Hector's. That was kind of like when we really started getting our building it. Yeah. Definitely.
The first thing I remember, I moved up here 2000, come to school up here, and you know, at that point, like I was like into rap, but it was mostly me and my friends doing it just like for fun, like, you know, back in Connecticut, because we all played. I was a drummer, and we all played like kind of like hardcore music and like reggae, kind of like some Bad Brains type of like mixture.
That's tight.
But then when I moved up, I didn't have any place for a drum kit, and I had already been rapping a little bit with like my brother or my friends down there. So because I had no place for a drum kit or anything like that, I was like started to pursue rapping a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then moving up here, then I really realized that was one thing really like struck me with Vermont moving up here was like how like serious y'all took rapping.
Yeah, the scene was pretty crazy back then.
Yeah.
It was like there'd be a cipher or like battles like damn near every night.
Right. Heck yeah. Definitely, man. Fucking Eric Dion or whatever. And
shout out Prediction.
Yeah, he was like heavy with it. You guys were crazy with it. Source Unknown.
Yeah.
And like the Loyalists were super big back then.
Yeah.
Aztecs were super big back then.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because so the Aztecs, shout out Devin and Pro. But so Devin Ewall and Jeremy Donahue, Jeremy's framework from the Loyalists, they both went to Essex High School.
Yeah.
And I was at Essex for a year. So when I got there, I was like, what, other kids that rap here? Like, because, no, I didn't know that other kids rapped, like, back then.
Huh.
And, I think actually their first show, I want to say it was their first show, they opened for us at 242.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
The old school, like, punk spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every once in a while we do hip-hop shows there, too.
That was like the first thing too. I used to come up here because my older brother went to school at Champlain College.
Oh, okay.
So I would come up here through the 90s. And I remember the whole scene up here was just like hippies and punks.
Yeah.
That was like the crazy shit. Like so many punks, like hardcore punk contingents,
like
and then hardcore hippie, like B-lot or whatever all the hippies called it.
Yeah, well, because, Grateful Dead tour used to end in Vermont. And
right.
And so then, it would end like, I don't know, end of the summer, midsummer. And then we'd get all the leftover stragglers and be hanging out in City Hall Park. And
yeah.
they'd bring all the drugs in and everything. But, and then Club Toast was huge. Like, it, that brought a huge, like, punk rock and, hardcore scene.
Mm-hmm.
And just by, like, almost by default, I found myself at a lot of hardcore shows and shit. Just
nice.
being friends with Sullivan and Dub and all them. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's such an interface between like hardcore and that whole movement, and even like hip hop and reggae, especially back at that time. Like there wasn't a lot of distinction between the two genres, or you had overlap, or even people that were into like house and like raves and shit that were also into hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was a lot of intermingling of genres.
Yeah.
And they were all kind of rebellious genres, like at the time.
Yeah.
And really new,
Yeah.
Especially hip hop was still like kind of, I would say, just beginning to be like accepted, just beginning to start to become mainstream. That's right when like Eminem and shit like that started, 50 Cent or whatever.
Yeah, and even that shit's a little later than like, it's probably rapping for a good 3 or 4 years before I ever even knew who Eminem was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, totally, like, especially as white dudes, like, they're like, I can tell you how many times people told me I wasn't black, like as if I didn't know.
Oh, facts, bro. Definitely. I got that all the fucking time from people. Like, oh, like, you want to be black, da-da-da-da-da. You know what I'm saying? Fucking just weird perceptions of shit back then.
And if I had a nickel for every person who tried to tell me that Eminem was the first white rapper, I'm like, dude, have you ever heard of the Beastie Boys?
Hell yeah. MC Search or whatever.
Search, yeah.
Yeah. Vanilla
Ice, bro. Straight up.
That, I guess, is like the highest selling single like of all time.
Oh, yeah,
Still to this day is fucking Ice Ice Baby.
Oh, yeah.
Which is sad.
I mean, good for him, It's it's like to be a one-trick pony that just never had to lift a finger again.
Right.
He's like the actual, like when you think of one-hit wonders, like that's Vanilla Ice.
Facts. Yeah.
Like, can you name another Vanilla Ice song?
No, absolutely not, dude.
Can any of you at home name another Vanilla Ice song?
The next Vanilla Ice song, but it's actually was just them dissing him was Third Base, like Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in my mind that's like a Vanilla Ice song, just because he was so like heavily featured in the video or whatever.
Yeah.
And the old school In Living Color, Jim Carrey
Yes.
one, where he's like Popeye or whatever.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude, In Living Color was the shit.
Yeah.
Like, Homie the Clown.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The Wayans.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Just fucking smack him with the ball. He'd be like, homie, don't play that. You
Fuck
know?
yeah, dude.
Fun.
And that was a show also too, featured hip hop acts.
Yeah.
Live hip hop at the end of every single
Yeah,
episode.
Run DMC was on it. Public Enemy.
Facts, bro. KRS.
KRS, yeah.
All types of people were on that.
Yeah.
That really like set the way. I think like Chappelle's show or whatever later, having that aspect like directly drew from that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, say what you want about Chappelle, but I think he's fucking hilarious. I think he's poking the bear in all the right places. I mean, I can understand how if you have no sense of humor, you'd be offended, but also like you don't have to watch that shit.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that he's telling jokes really on a level that's like, you have to really think about it. He's not giving you the obvious punchline that he's setting you up for. You know, he's really giving you stuff that's more of like a critical perspective. And then like, if you have to kind of follow him through the whole sequence of what he's saying in his narrative to really kind of understand like the underlying point that he's trying to make.
Yeah.
You know?
I love when he's like, I'm so good at writing jokes now. I just write a punchline and then I just figure out what the joke's gonna be.
Right.
So, kicked her in the pussy. That's just fucking hilarious. Going back to rap. So yeah, we were doing a lot of shows around then, and then at a certain point, you started rocking with Second Agenda.
Yeah. Exactly.
Shout out Lugo, who's actually coming on the show in a week or two.
Nice.
Yeah. And Plant, who's coming on the show next week.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
Second Agenda fucking week right now.
Yeah. So that also, like, basically when I first started coming and started to really rap here was like Liquid Energy, the bar that was on Church Street.
Yeah.
That had a night that was a freestyle night, and I think maybe I had already met you or something at that point.
Yeah, that was Friday night.
Yeah, then like you let me know that was happening, and I remember that the circle, like the cipher, was like competitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To even get a chance to like rap, you had to be like confident and on it, and like really sharp on your game.
Yeah, if you were coming with some whack shit, you were getting cut off real quick.
Exactly, yeah. And that was something too that was like new for me moving up here, and just like seeing how seriously people took rapping up here, and like were like real MCs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then through there I met Scotty, because Scotty was the bartender.
Yeah, he was like facilitating the whole thing.
Yeah. And that place was just like wild in itself.
I know.
They used to have like all the little like greens and things set up, because it was like a juice bar.
Yeah, juice bar by day,
Yeah.
fucking hip hop lounge by night.
Yeah. And they also used to have a speaker out on Church Street. So like if it was too packed or whatever, I would just go and like hang out on Church Street and like puff or whatever, and like listen to the music coming out on the street, kick it with people.
It used to be funny. You'd see people in there like, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, like on their laptops or whatever, just like hanging out, writing, and like just knowing that the place was about to transform. You'd just be like, and then like having, beats start getting played, people start rhyming, and just seeing them, some people like scurrying off, or other people being like, oh damn, put away their book and start vibing.
Yeah. And that was like real formative experience for me, and then that like unexpectedly closed because the dude like dipped out. Like,
Yeah, he embezzled a bunch of money.
Shuttered the doors, And then I had a homie, Eddie, like DJ Recluse.
Yeah.
And he got an opportunity to start DJing at Hector's, and then the night like kind of moved to Hector's from there. And that's where like I really met you. I think I had already known you, but that's when we really started like rhyming together.
Yeah, because we would be there every week. It was Wednesday nights.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was a smaller cipher, definitely a smaller audience because you're not right there on Church Street.
Right.
But those, actually, it's funny, we were talking about the Loyalist. So Framework had like stopped rapping and like was just like DJing a little bit, and he came back. I think he was in California or something, and he came back, and I brought him there, and like I got him to get back on the mic, and that was like when the spark happened again, and like he hasn't turned back since.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
Well, it was a cool spot because it's like it was like underground, like literally underground. You have to like come down the steps to the place, and then you're in this like weird basement.
Yeah.
So I had this thing of like you were more withdrawn, like into your own like community down there. It was like our own little shell bubble.
Yeah, and I wasn't even 21, but that wasn't an issue.
No, hell no. No, that place was crazy with that.
Yeah.
And then Forrest also. I just remember hearing him rap, like.
Yeah.
And I'll say, like, you and Forrest, like, really, like, inspired me and influenced me. You know, just because, like, just the words that you were rapping and, like, there was, like, seemingly no boundaries. And then also how, like, authentic that you guys kept it. And how real and how true it was for you guys, you know? And that's another thing, too, that struck me with beyond, like, how serious people took it. It was, like, you really, like, embodied what you were doing.
Try to talk about the shit I'm actually up to. Not like driving around in fucking fancy cars. At the time, I didn't even have a car. So
no doubt.
So.
Yeah, and that was super inspiring to me. Because even coming up, like, I started listening to hip-hop real early. And I grew up next to a kid that's Albanian. And he, like, had come from these projects in Bridgeport, like Meadowbrook projects. So he kind of, like, taught me about hip-hop and, like, showed me about, like, I didn't even really, like, I knew, like, Public Enemy and I knew, like, things like that. But he really put me on to hip-hop. Yeah. But I remember I knew, like, that I could rap, like, way back then. But he was like, don't rap, you know what I mean? He's like, don't be like a white boy that raps. He's like, that's like not okay. You know what I mean? He's like, we knew like white boys that rap like back in like the projects or whatever. And he's like, they would just like get clowned. You know what I mean? He's like, don't do it. So I always kind of had that in my head. So, and then moving up here, where obviously like predominantly like white up here, you know what I'm saying? But just seeing how like serious people took it and how much people loved it. And how it was like, I mean, it was authentic.
That
you know what I'm saying?
acceptance didn't happen overnight. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there was many times of me being told that wasn't acceptable. It wasn't cool.
Right.
Fuck them. Look at me now. Still slightly above average. So yeah, you're originally from. What part of Connecticut again?
Connecticut, right? Like New Haven.
New Haven, that's right.
Yeah.
I was having a brain fart. So New Haven's kind of cutty, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Grew up seeing some shit down there, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah. But I mean, for hip-hop shit, like, really, honestly, it's like up here is more of, like, my journey with that and, like, where that starts, you know? And, like, even getting put on to groups by, like, living legends and, like, stuff like that, like even like LP and like these like underground cats like Idea and Atmosphere and stuff. Like you guys are really on to this whole other like genre or like subgenre of hip hop that like I really didn't know anything about.
The original backpack rap.
Yeah. And that was dope to learn about that and to see it. And then it actually made the connect to me in my mind of like, oh, okay, like I get it. Like the type of hip-hop that these cats listen to, which I'm like, this shit is amazing. Sage Francis, that's like one of the... I really remember you putting me on to Sage Francis, the Makeshift Patriot. I remember you had that single and listening to it. And it was like right after the Bush era.
Yeah.
And just to hear like what he was saying and like how clearly he was speaking and like how passionate and intelligent and on point that he was with it. And I could see that reflected in y'all, like... Yeah. From what you guys were listening to, I could see that you shared that camaraderie.
Well, all the people you named are all the people we were doing shows with. So it's like, you know, we were obviously feeding off of that shit.
Yeah. And that was also too like the like Anti-Con era, which was all based out of Montreal, which is like, you know, skipping a jump from here. Yeah. Well, so again,
like Soul and Alias are from Maine, but yeah, you know, Bucks are from like up there in Canada and
right.
Yeah, it's all, you know, all northeast for sure.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. All northeast, all near Canada, all like upper New England style. So it was almost like when coming up here, like I realized that you guys were part of like a larger community and a larger movement of what was happening.
Yeah, we were bringing in quite a few like pretty official dudes at the time, and you know, we'd always just put ourselves on the bill. Obviously, we're like, fuck, we're bringing Atmosphere here. Like, obviously, I'm opening for that shit.
Right.
You know, so that was cool. But, yeah, let's talk a little bit. Let's go forward here. So, like, Bless the Child. What is, you know, that album you guys put out, 100%. That was a fucking fire album. Again, Plant, instrumental. You had Raj, who, is people feel how they feel about. But that album was sick, dude.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had some of my favorite verses ever on that shit.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You guys should go check that out. Bless the Child, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure where you can catch it, maybe.
It's on Bandcamp still.
Bandcamp.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you can search that out on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bless the Child too. So that was all like, from Hector's ended up having the same fate as Liquid Energy, where like the guy, whoever ran it, embezzled a bunch of shit, money.
It's a common theme with
and
these,
dipped out,
these hole-in-the-wall bars.
Exactly. So Eddie, Recluse, hit me up and was like, yo, he's like, this is the last one. I'm like, oh, what happened? Da-da-da. He's like, no, he's like, this is the last one. He's like, the guy's gone. I think the dude was already gone.
Yeah, he was gone.
And they still threw one more night.
Yeah. I remember they still had liquor in there and shit, and everyone had stopped showing up to work because they weren't getting paid.
Right.
And so we showed up and we were bartending.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
None of us worked there, but we were bartending and we were basically trespassing.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember a whole pillow sack full of fungus going around that night and all types of wild shit. And I remember the Ponine or whatever came down at the very end of the night. They walked down the stairs and they were like, what? They're there's something happening down here?
Yeah, they didn't even know that the bar existed.
No, they had no idea the bar existed.
As a matter of fact, that place might not have even had a liquor license.
Right. And that was the last night of the whole fucking thing. So they found out on the last night in the last 10 minutes of it being open that it even existed.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty magical spot,
The cops show up and we're like, dude, you're about a year late.
Exactly.
We've been getting all types of feisty down here.
Yeah, that place got wild. That place definitely got wild.
Yeah.
So then from there, Scotty would come through there, and Scotty started bartending at the Monkey House in Winooski. Mm-hmm. And then him and Planto started a thing called Music Machine Mondays. Mm-hmm. And that's where I really got to know Plant over there. And then I met Andy, Lugo, and they had Second Agenda. And then I would hop up with them occasionally. Mm-hmm. And that kind of helped me really build my chops of performing.
Yeah, and with the band.
With the band.
Because you had Josh and
exactly
all those dudes, yeah. And they were a good band too.
Yes.
It wasn't just it wasn't strictly based around even hip hop, because Andy's also a singer-songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's has punk roots too and all that. So
right.
Even if you weren't into hip hop, a Second Agenda show would still be dope.
Yes, heck yeah. And his songwriting too, especially at the time, kind of connecting back to that Sage Francis makeshift patriot thing, there was really a sense of radicalism and almost kind of a
responsibility to say something and push some of those issues, not make it just all about brag and rap and
exactly
shit with actual content.
And then also too weird ethereal stuff and alien
stuff. He liked to talk about aliens,
UFOs stuff, mind psychedelic travels and shit like that. It was cool. It was really cool to be part of that a bit and I felt I was an auxiliary member of that. You know?
You were because we've been bringing Clint in for every few episodes to be a co-host, so he's not officially a host, but and,
exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of
the guest star.
Yeah, you're on it.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And then that kind of led from all that Second Agenda kind of stopped performing with them at some point, and they kind of had some rearrangement of their whole evolution of what happened with their group.
Yeah.
And then there's at some point this there was another place too that are kind of simultaneous, but there was a cipher that popped up at Fitted, which was a hat store.
Yeah, Connor. What up, Connor?
And that's where I met Raj and Burnt and kind of the whole that was almost the next wave of people from that first era.
Yeah, so that's probably '06 or something, right?
Yeah, 05, 06, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that and that was more of a test. I had come further along in my abilities and rapping and especially freestyle. So that was a real place of kind of camaraderie, a lot of like snapping at that place. Like,
Yeah.
there'd be a lot of like, not like battles, but people would be like snapping on each other.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that was a point where a lot of people were like really seeking validity,
mm-hmm.
and like people had started to like feel like they had put in work, and so they were like, "Nah, motherfucker, me," you know?
Right, yeah.
Some shit like that.
Heck yeah.
I mean, I always kind of had that chip on my shoulder anyway, so that was nothing new to me. But yeah,
yeah, that place was crazy. That was up to where like Flex Records was.
yeah, historic place. I mean,
Historic place.
Flex was my first ever sponsor. Yeah, back in like the '90s, like Justin Sullivan and I were the team.
Huh.
Like Iceman and Ratman would give us like one board a month.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was like 14 or 15. We were psyched.
Yeah, that place was tight. They always had the reggae bumping out of there. Just stacks of singles,
Yeah,
like
see
everywhere.
Demas up there, just getting all crazy.
Yeah.
Like rocking with a plant or something. Yeah.
And then at one point too, there was like the Cause, the Josh
Cause had his like punk
shop,
store.
and then Big Dog had
Burners.
L Burners.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, man, this is crazy.
We'd go up that hall and it was like all of our people.
All the shit that you want right there. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got the punk record store, hip hop record store, and the reggae store right there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was always like a super, like that place like up there, right above like Alibaba's or whatever.
Yeah.
That's like always holds a
I
real
think,
like
I think it's
special
now
place.
the Sticky brand now is up there, I believe, if it's still there. But yeah.
Right. And then at the same time of that, there was another place like One Pepper Grill.
Yeah.
And that had
was
another
later.
cipher. That was a little bit later, yeah.
That was probably like 2009 or 10.
Right. That's where I met like Mav, or would rock a lot with like Mavstar and like Face One, like that kind of like group of people. I really got to be like close with them, and like I had already known them, but that was like a good stomping ground for us. Like we would really like click up.
It's funny
and,
how like through
get
the
shit
years
together.
one place will be like this popping spot and they'll close, and then there's like this kind of hole in the scene for a month
Yeah.
or two, and then it's like someone else pops it up, or
Exactly.
you just find the most random places to go approach and be like, remember like that place that Tasted Dixie,
Uh-huh.
and they had like a battle there that I won.
Holy
like,
shit.
Yeah, and like I remember the first prize was supposed to be like $250, and the dude gave me like $190.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Because I gotta keep that 10 for myself. Yeah.
Oh, no, it was supposed to be like $250.
Oh, got you.
I was like, yo, where's the rest of the money? He's like, man, you should just be happy with that. Like, it's literally on the flyer. Like, it says $250.
False advertisement.
That was
bro.
the place you would go in, and it was a restaurant, I guess, but you'd order something, and then you'd see the dude leave out the back door and come back with a bag full of groceries.
Yeah, exactly.
Like an hour later, your food would be ready. Like, wait, what? Clearly some kind of front, but yeah.
So Bless the Child and shit like came out of kind of that era. You know what I mean? And that was like Plant, who I knew from Second Agenda, and like Scotty from Second Agenda. And it started off like I became like close friends with Rajni, at like Fitted, and doing those freestyles with him.
Mm-hmm.
And we just kind of clicked together, like our styles and the just like kind of the content, kind of like even like energetically, like where we were coming from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What was your writing process like for that album? Like, were you guys sitting there together making a lot of the songs, or would you just get the beat? Or
No, we basically wrote like all the songs together.
Yeah.
You know, we would come together like and be like, all right, we have like this beat, and then we'll sit down and
Conceptualize or whatever.
Yeah, like it was weird because like for me and Raj, like we would have to like we would kind of have some type of a theme going on. Sometimes we would pick out an actual theme of like this is what the subject matter is going to be for the song, but more often than not we would just like kind of be like
Describe.
having a conversation for a while, vibing together, and then we put the beat on, and then we would simultaneously write. And then, like, basically 9 times out of 10, we were, like, writing about the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, we'd have, like, weird, like, references in the verses to each other's verse.
Synchronicities.
Yeah, a lot of synchronicity.
Well, it seems like a lost kind of thing these days. It's like people just, like, get a beat, and they're like, all right, dude, you write something.
Right.
I'll write it. You can email me your verse or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's like... Because, you know, coming up with shape and everything like that, how we made shit, like, we went into the studio and just stayed there for 2 days. And,
Right.
like, literally stayed in there for 2 fucking days.
Uh-huh.
He'd make the beat, you know, we'd fucking have some beers or whatever, and you just write, and then you'd record, and then we'd go drive to get food finally.
Mm-hmm.
We'd like have to beg Shape to leave to get food.
Right.
And then he would he'd burn the tape, and then we'd bump the tape in his car when we went out, so like.
Nice, the car test.
Yeah.
That's tight.
Yeah. And so with Bless the Child, you guys did like some releases, and you had you were doing quite a few shows at the time.
Oh yeah. We basically, it was good. We played at Higher Ground a bunch of times.
Shout out.
Yeah.
My employer.
Facts. And opened up for a bunch of different people. I can't even remember all the fucking people that we opened up for. Like Master Ace and Wordsworth and the Tribe Called Red. That was one of our last couple shows. Bunch of people. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Anybody coming through at some point, we became kind of like a top billing kind of group. I would say. You know what I mean? Pretty heavily requested.
Well, I think
to come play shows.
It's important to have a local act, quote unquote, opening for those, because it's your platform. It's your opportunity to reach a wider audience, but also it's you should be. It's if there's a hip-hop show in your community, whether it's someone, internationally or whatever, famous, oh man, come to the place and rock with the people who are doing that here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, heck yeah. And that was, I felt who else was Linguistic Civilians or whatever were super big at that time.
Well,
so we would they were our rival, trying to get shows and trying to open up for people.
What's funny is your style and your approach was couldn't have been more different. You know what I mean? Your content and everything, they were basically like rap and
right.
Kind of like college boppy, but they did their thing. They had choreographed dances, and Walshy obviously is fucking animated as fuck. So
yeah, they had a strong following. They reminded me a lot of Jurassic 5.
Yeah.
And they kind of kept that kind of vibe of a Jurassic 5 type of thing.
Yeah, a lot of quick trading and
yes.
Yeah, just feeding off each other.
Right.
Kind of back and forth. Yep.
Yeah, and that was cool. That was cool too. To have that during that era, because I felt we were all really pushing each other and really moving forward. You know what I'm saying? And
a rising tide lifts all boats, bro.
Yeah, and there was never any animosity between us or anything like that. We were just the two groups that were kind of on the top of the scene at the same time, simultaneously.
You see them on a flyer or something, you're like, well, shit, I need to book a show.
Hell yeah, exactly, yeah. And shout out to Burns and
Burns.
Shout out to the whole crew.
Burns is going strong.
All the
right
Linguistic
now.
Civilians. Yeah.
Burns is going strong right now.
Heck yeah, dude. Yeah. He took all that stuff that he learned at that time and really ran with it. You know what I mean? And it's good, man. He's been able to help support himself and even help support people Jarv and stuff like that. So, and that's even that is cool, because I felt Bless the Child and even Linguistic Civilians, we were starting to step up stuff in the scene for people to make it to kind of give way to somebody like a Jarv, who Jarv is that's this career now is rapping, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and he's a fucking beast.
Yeah. And even I remember meeting Hank and stuff like that from 99 Neighbors, before they even put the whole group together. And my homie Speak was originally part of the crew, and just to see how they came up as a collective of people who were based around art, music making, fashion, and then they amalgamated all together in a group.
Yeah, and you gotta love that they have so many different angles covered. They got they really put on their video guys, their editors, their artists, not just the MCs or just the DJs or anything.
Right.
So that's dope.
It is dope, yeah. And I can see too how everything has grown. We've all grown from each other to kind of give way to something like a 99 Neighbors, coming out of this scene. You know what I'm saying? It's cool to be able to look back on everything and realize the influence that we had way back then.
Yeah.
And how it carried through. You know what I mean?
It's a trip, because for me, starting rapping in, I don't even know what year I started, 96 maybe. Mm-hmm. And just to see how there are avenues now and platforms for just a local cat coming up, you know? Because it's back then that shit didn't even seem fathomable.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know?
And it was also so separate, you know what I mean? Like how I'm saying coming up here and like learning about like all these Northeast groups and like people that were on the independent scene and really doing it. But like independent back then was so much different than mainstream. You know, there was such a clear divide.
Oh, for sure.
They were almost like two different genres.
Yeah.
But nowadays, like there's really no difference between independent and mainstream and like
Yeah, the only difference is
underground.
independent, you might actually make some of your own money.
Right, exactly. Yeah, more of the people that are big now are actually independent and just doing it
They
themselves.
started realizing that the record labels are just fucking you. And especially now, because it's like, you know, people aren't really making that much off of selling units. You know, it's more about like getting plays and then having your YouTube channel and
Right,
just all those other like digital currencies or whatever.
right. Which is like pretty cool about nowadays. Is like the playing field is like very level now.
Yeah, put the power kind of back in the hands of the artist.
Yeah, exactly. But the only thing that means that is that there's way more like
It's oversaturated.
murky waters to like go through or try to comb through to figure out like the
You
gems.
used to have to be dope to get put on.
Yeah.
Now you can put yourself on. And
Hell
then
yeah.
If you're dope, you know, your shit'll blow up more. But like,
Right.
you know,
Because that shit would all cost money. Like studio time was like expensive. Like tapes and like actual like ADAT tapes and like all those like equipment and like not anybody could just record shit at home. You have to actually go to a studio and that took time and that took money and multiple people involved. So you have to be like a kind of polished to a particular level in order to even like spend your time or like want to like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Well, we had Conflict and Nastee on, and it was pretty sick just hearing from you know, Nastee even talking about like when he first showed up at Loud and like how like he would literally be the dude like mowing the lawn out front to like be able to get a little studio time. And,
Damn.
like, yeah.
That's what's up right there.
Yeah.
Got to get your fucking hustle on, like figure out your avenues to get yourself in the door, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're also a big graff head, you know, and I always look forward to seeing your brother. And I don't know if you want to drop the name of the crew or anything.
No. We'll keep some things mysterious here.
Yeah, but as you put this hood up. But yeah, you guys always burn it at Above the Radar, which is sick. You know, I always look forward to seeing all those cats.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at what point did you get into painting and all that?
That was, I don't know, probably late 90s kind of got into that. And
Like, were you painting back in New Haven?
a little bit, not too much, but just starting to like put it together.
The toy days.
Oh yeah, plenty of those.
And for all you out there, it's like, if you're gonna get into graffiti, you're gonna be a toy. Like, it's gonna happen. You just gotta fight through it. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. It takes, all that stuff just takes practice, you know? Some people are naturally born, like, and naturally gifted and just, like, have the hand
Like
or whatever.
a Dan Lee or something.
Yeah, but that's, like, pretty rare, you know? Most people really gotta, like,
Even
their work.
real art, like someone who's like a real artist, it's like, just because you're a good artist does not mean you're going to be a good graffiti artist. It's like a whole different thing.
Right. Yeah, that's very true.
And also, it's like you're breaking the law, like 90% of the time. So, like, you have to have that in you. You know, that, like, you got to really be hungry for that. It's not, it's definitely not for everybody.
No, you're taking like big risks, and the reward to risk ratio is like
Slim to none.
Slim to none, yeah. It's whatever it means to you and to like a small group of people is really kind of like the value behind it, you know?
Yeah, it's like I could go take a piss behind a building and see like a old like Chili or like He piece and like just get so hyped, whereas to most people they wouldn't give a fuck.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Or they'd be like, oh, some vandals.
Yep. It's like a weird like secret language type of thing.
Yeah.
And that, yeah. And when I came up like here, there was like different like crews, like APB was super big back then.
APB was just absolutely running shit.
Yeah, APB was good, and they were like more of like the artsy kind of kids. Like they're almost more like a MSK type of like.
There was that, but then there was also the like, you know, the tanks and the like, the people who were just like, fuck that, I'm out here to bomb.
No doubt, yeah. definitely a shout out to fucking Scent and like old school homies. Those are like the first people I really saw. And then I would see a bunch of like New York stuff, like New York writers and stuff like that. Yeah, like Iraq crew names and things like that up here. So I was like, oh man, like just like see the distance and how much people have traveled.
Yeah. Well, I remember meeting Sems and Sace when they came up with SAG.
Yeah.
You know, SAG's from New York. And
right.
SAG became APB because he linked with all them. And
yeah.
Like, I knew about Graff, but like, I only knew maybe 10 real names, and like those were a couple of them,
right?
And like I was like, holy shit, these are like when you're able to like actually like meet someone who's always just been this like figure,
right.
And in the Graff world, like you may never meet a lot of these people because like they ain't trying to meet people.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. So that was cool, you know what I mean? And it was pretty like new in a lot of ways. Like there's a lot of spots now like that are like very like saturated with work, but like when I first started, it would be like fresh, you know what I mean? Like hardly like people have painted a lot of the places that I went and painted and stuff like that, and it was just cool to see too. It was another thing, kind of like the rap, like where people like really like took it seriously, and there was like a real culture behind it, you know. And there was different factions. Like the other crew was like STM at the time, you know, and like APB and STM were like
beef. Yeah, there's beef.
Yeah, they had like just different approaches to the whole thing, you know what I mean? So it was cool to see that like there was like a real like living culture up here of like kids that were like kind of carving out their niche of like, you know, just like the skating shit that y'all did.
Well,
you know
even
what I mean?
like even though like STM was never like as good or like as like legit, I'd say, as APB, they like definitely inspired something upon like the homies because, it's Graff. Like you go paint some shit and then your rivals go paint over it. So you're like, all right, now I got to come with the next shit.
Exactly.
It's just like you keep leveling up.
Right. Which I think is kind of cool, though, and something that I always kind of liked about it in a lot of ways. Like, it's cool to see the respect, and it's cool to see when stuff, like, runs for a long time, you know what I'm saying? But, like, kind of knowing that, like, everything is, like, ephemeral, and everything is fading away. It's all temporary. You know, like, it's basically like one of those, like, Tibetan sand painting things where you, like, finish the whole painting.
Yeah, they take a month to make it, and then they just
immediately sweep the shit away.
Yeah.
That's like my mentality always of like going into it and painting is that like everything is temporary, you know?
Well, nowadays at least everyone's got a camera phone and whatever, so it's like, you get the flick and then you're like, shit, the shit could be gone tomorrow.
Right.
Whatever,
right. Yeah. But I kind of like that. I like the fact that everything is like ephemeral and like, you know what I'm saying? Things only last for as long as they do. And then when you see stuff that's lasted for like decades.
Like the old SAG pieces at the lower walls and shit like that.
It's special to see that. You know what I mean? And then there's like respect. That's another thing I like about the culture too, is like respect for like what's come before you. And knowing the people that have put in their work in and earned their dues. And then knowing not to go over them or not to disrespect them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Or if you do go over, you better come with some heat.
Yeah, exactly. Or there'll be some fucking, like, people are going to be mad at you about it. You know what I mean? You might have to answer, like...
Yeah, well,
I was never,
like, an official fucking graph head or whatever, but, all my buddies were, so I'd go down to the walls, and there were numerous times where... people would come down who had went over some shit and it didn't go well for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I always took a, like, kind of different approach. Like, we were always, like, more, like, abstract and, like, even do more, like, kind of, like, iconographic type of stuff like that rather than just doing, like, letters and things like that.
Yeah.
But then also just, like, getting out and, like, pushing it and, like, trying to bring stuff to where it hadn't been seen before and like kind of open up people's minds of like this is the possibilities of like what you can do with this and get you to kind of think about stuff a little bit differently than just like kind of how it normally is seen as like vandalism and shit like that. Like this is actual art, like this is real art that we're creating out here.
I mean, dude, the pieces that the productions that you and the crew do, like all the Connecticut homies, shout out, you know who you are. Should flash a couple of the above the radar pieces right about in here somewhere. But yeah, like it's dope just to see the process, you know, to be there, because I'll just be hanging and, you know, it starts out as a blank wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you pick your colors and
Right.
there you go.
Yeah, it is. It's cool to go from your mind out to the world. You know what I'm saying?
How often are you sketching your pieces, or is it usually you just get right to it on the wall?
I don't know. It kind of goes back and forth, but usually, most times I'll just do it like freestyle, basically just like off the top of my head, you know? But as time has like gone on, like I've learned the value of like sketching and things like that. Like when I first started or whatever, I never would sketch, you know? I thought it was like a waste of time. And I'm kind of like a somewhat like impatient person in that way as far as creating stuff like that. Like I just want things to be kind of done, and I'm trying to like capture a feeling and capture the momentum of a feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sometimes if it gets drawn out for too long, you kind of like lose the point of what it was all about.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel the same way about like writing verses sometimes, where I'll be like, if I try to stop to like make it so perfect in there, you kind of lose the momentum and like lose like kind of what the overall feeling of it was.
Right, exactly.
It's almost better to just get it out, and then you can go back and kind of tighten some shit up.
But also just like meeting people over time, and like people that are like have like more skill or been in the game longer than me, like learning the value.
And you learn little tricks and
Oh hell yeah, it's all about observation, and like because nothing is like, I guess you could nowadays go like on YouTube and watch like an instructional video or something.
Sure.
I'm sure that they exist, you know.
Yeah.
But really, it's all from just experience and practice, and then even like can control and all that stuff. All that is just like muscle memory, and like you having to really work at it and just go out there and keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so like you don't have any social media or anything like that. You've never been on any of that shit. But like, are you like staying up to date on like new graff and new shit? Like are you? Because I know back in the day there'd be like bombing science or like you know profit. What was it?
Right. 12-ounce profit.
12-ounce profit and shit like that. So it's like, are you like, in what ways are you catching inspiration from that shit? Are you like, because you know, like if you're a skater nowadays, like it would be almost impossible to not be on like Instagram if you were trying to like you know, whatever, just be in the know of like what's happening, what's been done, whatever. So where are you like harvesting that creative inspiration from?
Mostly just from like homies, and like even like actual like homies and friends of mine, and like seeing what they're doing and like seeing how they're pushing it. And then like as far as that, like it usually used to be like vicarious through like somebody, because a lot of that stuff now is all through like Instagram, you know what I'm saying? And that's like that's different in that like back in the day when you had like 12-ounce profit and stuff like that, like you couldn't like make a page about yourself and then like post your own pictures.
Yeah, you had to get put on.
Yeah, that was like the corniest shit you could ever do. You know what I mean? It would have to be like other people like observing you and like taking photos, and like you have to build a reputation. It's like
starting a Hall of Fame and like inducting yourself.
Exactly, yeah. But nowadays though, that's like the norm. Like everybody is just about that shit, through going through Instagram, like putting themselves on, like being their own promoter or whatever in that way. So that's something that's like really different than when I started, you know. But mostly just like staying kind of cued in through that, just through like friends and other people that are kind of like, hey, like check out this dude, check out this artist or whatever, you know what I mean? That's the main way I would say. And then also really just through like actual like friends of mine, and like I'm kind of more interested in like the work that they're doing, and, like, how they're pushing it. Even more so than like somebody in like LA or like Germany or some shit like that.
That's the tip that I'm on with, you know, like I don't know shit about new rap, but I know like you just put out a song with Mav. Like, I know more like what my friends are up to, because that's just, you know, what I give a shit about. What the fuck's that song called again that you guys just put out?
Alpha Centauri.
Alright, that was dope. I'm actually on the committee for the Vermont Hip Hop Awards. And you might be getting some nominations from me.
Yeah, bro, give me a nomination, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dope that Justin Bolin, shout out Wombat, that's the homie. It's dope that he's, put that all together and he's really passionate about it. I couldn't think of someone better to do it because, he's a ridiculous MC, but he's also really smart and he's, he's able to kind of like see a lot of different sides of it and not even, you know what I mean? Like for me, it's like, I'm not into that like drill rap or I'm not into that type of shit, but like I feel like he's really good at like having an open palette, so to speak,
Right, yeah. Well, because there's such a variety of people out there now, and people's like accessibility as far as that, like Instagram and like self-promotion and shit like that is like really strong right now. So if you want to like take the time to dip in and figure out what all these different people are doing, like you can do it,
Yeah, but
it's
like
easy
you said,
to
you gotta
access
take
it.
the time.
You gotta take the time to do it, which he is doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, shout out Justin.
Yeah.
And that's even a testament to like the scene too, like that even that Vermont hip hop news, like just the effort to try to draw everybody together and to try to like keep the scene cohesive.
Yeah.
Which is super crucial. And that like leads back to like the third Thursday event that we were doing at the Monkey House forever. That was a similar thing, like of like kind of how you were saying, like when like one of the venues would like drop out, there'd become like a void, and then like another place like needed to open to fill it. And that was dope with Third Thursdays. It's like we were able to come in and like present a platform. And that actually Third Thursdays first actually started as we had a residency for Bless the Child at the Monkey House. But then we were in charge of booking the other people that were going to perform with us.
Yeah.
And then we had done it for like 6 months or like 7 months or something. And then we were just like, hey, like we should like got kind of like bored of us just playing it. And
Let's
then
open it up a little bit.
Open it up. And then got aimed towards like bringing in new people.
Dude, so many people perform for the first time ever at Third Thursday.
Yeah.
Like I can't tell you how many times someone would come up to me and be like, I'm nervous. I'm like, what? They're like, dude, I've never like rapped on stage. I'm like, that's cute.
Go get it. And that was the ill shit about that. And like we were really open, like I think like myself and Scotty, you know what I mean? Like, so at some point it became kind of like just me like doing the booking and stuff. And I'm like, this is like nuts. Like you say, I have no social media. I'm like, I'm like not the dude to be like putting events together. I have to like call people like
on your flip phone.
On my flip phone and be like, oh, you want to like come play the show this month or whatever? So I tapped Scotty to come in, and he really like took the shit and like ran with it. You know what I mean? Like as soon as
like that.
He is.
He doesn't have step.
No, he doesn't, and he's so connected on that world of like just like social media stuff and he's also just a natural born like organizer. And like a hub kind of person. You know what I'm saying?
He's a politicker and not like not in the shady sense.
No doubt.
He rubs elbows.
Yes. Yeah. So he kind of took it and like ran with it, and like we started to bring in like acts that were like touring acts, you know what I mean, to come through and play, and it was cool. Gained a lot of momentum, and it gave a lot of people opportunity in a platform and shit to like present themselves. Yeah,
one of my favorite acts that came through the Third Thursday is the homie Taylor, True Classic.
Oh yeah,
that dude's a fucking animal.
No doubt.
I ended up kicking it with him pretty tough. He hung out for a couple days afterwards, and we were just like, he's thorough. Yeah. And every show too, we'd always have a cipher at the end. Yeah. And it was cool to like meet cats like that and have people come through like that, because everybody would remark on like the scene that we had. There'd be some heated ciphers at Thursdays. You'd have like fucking 12 people on stage, like to the point where literally there was not enough room for all the MCs on stage. And like someone that get done rapping would have to get off the stage so someone else could get on to get in the rotation. You know? Right. Yeah. Yeah, there have been some heated ciphers there for sure. And that was and a cool thing about that was like I feel like the Southern Vermont like started to build up their scene a lot, like the hip hop in Southern Vermont. Yeah. So it gave them a home like up here up north where they could come perform in Burlington. Yeah. Have their stuff heard, and then like be able to go back down south and like. It's funny, you know what I mean? That, like we've been there, like we've like rocked with them, and there was always this weird. There's been this weird, like almost like debate or divide of like North versus South factions. Yeah, like hip hop or whatever. It's funny living here. Like I'm I'm kind of like in my own little world. Like I don't even think of the rest of Vermont that often.
Huh.
You know, like maybe a little bit like north and like nearby, but like I don't ever think about like fucking Brattleboro or Rutland or
Right.
Burlington or like these places. Like I
Uh-huh.
don't think I've ever been to a lot of those places, like ever.
They got scenes down there though.
Yeah.
Like my homie Then What? Like who was also part of starting Bless the Child too. Like I met him. We called him Logic though back then. But him and Raj, like really the three of us kind of like started out Bless the Child.
It's Then What?
Then What?
That's
yeah.
sick.
Yeah. Exactly. Selfish Presley.
Nice.
Yeah. But he moved down south to like the middle of the state and just started to connect with some of the cats down there, like Brad Vasey, you know, Raw Def.
Oh, Raw Def's the man.
Yeah.
Fuck with Raw Def.
And then like there's like homies like Young Breeze. Shout out
Breeze.
to all y'all.
Dude, so that
So and it's ill to see like this like, and they have a different tone like and a different kind of vibe down there, and they're connected to more like I don't know, like New Hampshire or connected to Mass and Boston, because like down in the southern part of the state, like you have a lot of crossroads connecting between New York State, connecting to Massachusetts, whereas like up here we're way more like isolated.
Yeah.
You know, we're in the vortex, like the Burlington vortex.
We're basically, it's like here and then like a little bit of like Montreal. influence.
Montreal. Yeah, exactly. So it makes like an interesting dynamic between both parts of the state. But I gotta say this, that I've never felt a divide between North and South Vermont. For real. We're all one. This is all one unified state. And like we're like blessed to have each other and to be here as one scene.
Yeah, and feed off each other.
Yeah.
I mean, so like that show at Green Door, you know?
Yeah.
That Mav and Friends.
Yep, just like a month ago.
Yeah, like fucking Breeze, he's a beast, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I hadn't seen him in a while, and I was like, oh my goodness, this dude is fucking fire. And then his homie who raps in the wheelchair.
Yeah. Shorty Bangs. I
Yeah,
think, something
Shorty
like that.
Bangs.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Shorty Bangs is a fucking animal too.
No doubt, dude. Yeah, they got a lot of fucking skills and a lot of energy and like heart down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see like even like the kind of like the similarity and the differences.
Yeah, like we're definitely more freestyle heavy,
Yeah.
you know, and like
Right.
we've just, I feel like we grew up in the cypher era and like just like house parties and like
Yep.
basements, and you know, I feel like a lot of those cats grew up more like, you know, listening to like music on the radio and like you know, album shit, like I don't know, it's just different.
Going in this more like studio oriented.
Yeah.
And like making songs in the studio oriented type
Yeah.
of things. But that makes sense though, because like up here we're lucky enough to have like to really have this scene in a place like when we have Third Thursday of like regular meetups, like regular times
and
when we
it's
get
a cipher
together.
before the show, it's a
Yeah.
cipher during the show, and it's a cipher after the show.
Definitely, bro. And we all genuinely like for the most part like get along and like have camaraderie. Like
We're all friends beyond hip hop.
all friends beyond hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like having a cipher, it's like as much of is like a conversation outside of like the same, like the Third Thursday, like how many times we would just be like kicking it out in front of the monkey house, just like rapping like conversation rap outside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was just as important as what was going on inside or the cipher on the stage.
Facts.
You know, and people could be up in the cipher and people could just be outside, like just talking outside and like, oh, like this time I'm like not gonna hop up or whatever. Like it just became like a real like relaxed like movement. You know what
like
I'm saying?
come one, come all type shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is dope to see, man. It's like really, that's the most important shit to like really cultivate a culture, is to like to create a scene where it becomes self-moving and self-perpetuating.
For sure.
You know?
And also it's nice to like not have to be the one sometimes, and you could still go out and like check some hip hop even if you're not the one who has to prepare for a show.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm just gonna shoot some pool, like check the shit, hang, have a couple beers.
No doubt. And that's another thing too, like and it's cool to see it like if like Burns had a show or like Mav had a show or like
Everyone's going.
everybody's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? And even if I'm not rapping, like I'm gonna go to the show and I'm gonna see my homie have fun, see friends in the crowd.
Well, that's what I
drink a
tell
beer,
some people, you know,
what I'm
that
saying?
like if there's like a couple homies I know that like try to put on some shit and like if it doesn't pop, like not to name any names, but like I'm like, yo, if you're not supporting and going to, you know, our scene's not that big, so it's like, you know, go to the fucking 40 other homies shows that happened in the last year or two, and like you got 40 motherfuckers coming to your show at least.
Exactly.
You know? But like if you're not, then it's kind of like, well, you know. Take your ball and go play by yourself.
Right. And you're always going to meet other heads in the crowd, too, because it's usually good like that. You're going to have, like, a few people in the crowd just there to see the show that are also artists, also performers. So if you want to meet them and be like, hey, like somebody's a beat maker that you never met before, you can, like, kick it with him.
Totally.
Like Robert Ronci or whatever. You can see him at a show and approach him and, like, talk to him, get to know him and shit. You know
You'll be
what
like,
I'm saying?
what? That's SK?
Yeah.
Doesn't look like a fucking hip-hop producer. No, shout out SK.
Shout out SK for sure.
That's the homie. We actually need to have him on. He's had to reschedule a couple times as well. I mean, that's part of, like, having kids, you know? It's like, I got kids, he's got kids, like, you know, you got kid.
Yeah, facts, bro.
How old is Khalil now?
15.
Damn, that's crazy. He's like, what, 6'3"?
Yeah, 6'2", a little bit over 6'2" now.
Yeah, now he's starting to skate a little bit, right?
Yep,
So
skating, snowboarding.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great kid.
He is a great kid, yeah.
You guys did well with that one.
Yeah, super lucky. Yeah.
That's a trip. So yeah, what are you working on these days? You got any projects in the works or?
I've taken like not like a hiatus, but haven't worked on much music in the last little bit, but I'm in the mode now of like getting back on it. You know, like I did the track with Mavstar.
We got a couple that need to get finalized.
Yeah, we do. We do.
I keep saying it, but life just passes.
So yeah, 2023 I think is gonna be good. Like I'm hyped to get back into it and like release some new material.
Yeah, same. I'm gonna finally put out an album this year, so.
Yeah, I got some good beats, good projects on the way. Me and the homie Then What are gonna work on another thing. We released a Good Company album a couple years ago.
Yeah, is that still, where can people get it?
That's all on Bandcamp. Okay. All the music, y'all, you want to find it, MC Humble, Bandcamp. And got multiple albums on there. The last one I did was Electromagnetism with Rico James. Shout out Rico James.
Yeah. Equalize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That one, I think it came out maybe independent, or just like we put it out on our own.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, Rico is the man, though.
And so you're making beats sometimes too, right? Or have you not been doing it as much, or are you still making beats?
Still making beats here and there, but that's something like the one, I have an album like Sin Permiso that has beats that I've made on it. Nice. But a lot of times that for the albums and shit like that, I'll collaborate with a beat producer.
Yeah.
And then I'll usually do, a lot of the albums I've done is just one producer does the whole album.
Yeah, you get like Zach to do it, or
Yeah, Rico James, homie Then What, I'm trying to think of who else. But we have, the great thing about up here is we have such like a good mix of like MCs and beat producers.
Yeah, and that's changed though, because like back in the day, there really wasn't that many. You know, you had like a couple.
Right. Yeah, now we got tons of fucking people. Sky Splitter, fucking Rico, SK, Then What, got all types of people that are super dope.
Yeah.
The homie Old Gold, me and Old Gold got a whole album out together.
No, sick.
And we got a couple new tracks that we're gonna be working on soon.
I'm not sure if I know Old Gold.
Yeah, he's like friends with Robert Ronci, SK, and like Lupo.
All right.
Lupo is another one. Shout out to Lupo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like, that was like crazy. I gotta just shout out to like the janky arts era. Janky music. The homie Tommy Alexander.
Yeah,
shout out to Tommy.
That was a crazy time.
Mantone, yeah. And the like what is now like Swan Dojo. We basically took that from. It was a hip hop oriented like DJ thing.
Yeah, so back in the day when I lived with ZJ, he started the Lab.
The Lab, exactly.
And so and so it's so funny, like he used to teach DJ classes there. And so like that was my roommate, and then he moved out of there, and then like we did Janky. Mm-hmm. And then like passed the torch, and now like Lois and Wish, they're doing to Swan Dojo, and so like that place has really been in the squad for like 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And Mantone and all them went like crazy. The homie Tree built the tree inside.
We
of
did
the
a
middle
lot
the
of
room.
renovating in there.
Pulled up all the carpet, brought
Yeah.
it back down to hardwood, took out a bunch of walls,
We redid
opened
the
up the
ceilings.
space, redid the ceilings.
Yeah, we did all types of shit. That was
Yeah.
a lot of work during that time.
But that was an awesome era too of like just like creating our own kind of label, our own movement that was like multiple genres. Tommy's like a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
Homie Josh Boniello. Shout out to
Yeah.
Josh Boniello.
Man.
Ill singer-songwriter. You know, we had Bless the Child, which is like hip-hop. And like it was like a really like we had a strong movement happening at that time.
There would be like yoga and like
Yeah.
hula hoop by day and like
Right.
you know, martial arts in there, and then like, you know, we might have like a show at night or like
Yeah.
throw parties, and so yeah, that was a really cool era for sure.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it was cool too because it was like, you know, a place you could do your thing and not have to like go to the bar and spend a bunch of money or whatever.
Right.
BYOB or you know,
Right.
whatever. So
Yeah. And Janky, I think, was good of like, I don't know, like it helped us kind of like get ourselves like more solidified and like, and that also became a crossroads with a lot of different producers and like connecting producers with artists and then giving us a place that we had a studio where
Yeah.
we could record.
that was
you
the
know?
other thing, is there was a studio
Yeah.
there. So it's like, you know, kind of reminded me of like the way studios were like back in the day, where it's like, you know, you pull up to the place and like there's the studio, but you might not even be there to record. You know,
Uh-huh.
like you're just all vibing, whether
Yeah.
you know, you're writing in your black book or just clowning, whatever. And then it's like, you know, maybe today you're lacing a verse or
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And it was dope to have like, yeah, that many talented people around to feed off of.
Mm-hmm.
I still got the janky tattoo right on my ankle.
Nice.
Yeah. I was with Tommy at Awaking Windows. I was like day drinking, and I'm like, let's get janky tats. He's like, I already got one. I was like, all right. So I went in and saw Tyree. I was like, yo, give me a janky tattoo. He was like, what do you want? I was like, I don't give a shit. Just give me something. I fucking passed out while he was tattooing me, and I woke up like an hour later. And I was like, oh shit, my bad, we can finish. He's like, dude, I've been done for like a half hour. It's pretty ridiculous.
Damn, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ankle tat. It's not like it was a fucking neck tat or some fucking super
right.
thugged out shit.
Right. Yeah.
Well, shit, dude. I'm so hyped that you came on.
Thank you, bro. I know.
And the man.
Yeah, there's so much like eras and like so much time has passed, and I feel really blessed like to be here and to be part of the scene and to like have been part of the scene for so long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just to come through and like, I don't know. I feel like there's like a million stories to tell. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're definitely gonna have you back on again soon. You know, keeping the shit going. For you folks at home, we need everyone to subscribe. What the fuck? Just go click that subscribe button. If you don't have a YouTube account, it takes 2 minutes. Just sign up, give them an email, and then click subscribe. We're going to be doing more giveaways. We got a Golden Hour shirt for you. We have shirts available still on the website, goldenhourvt.com. Just, you know, support. We really appreciate it, and yeah, like we need money to keep the lights on, so fucking A. As always, shout out Sean Mesha, man behind the cam, and shout out yourselves, you know what I mean, because I mean, I don't need you, but I like you, and yeah, it's just, you know, we've been talking like this for years, and we will even if there weren't cameras. But you know,
Yeah.
we bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all these cameras for y'all. So hell yeah. Well, shit. With that being said, anybody trying to give any shout outs to that you haven't already touched on, or?
Yeah. Shout out to Ant Hill. Shout out to Conflict. Rest in peace, A Dog. Shout out to Hellzor, rest in peace.
Hell's Kids player.
Hell's Kids, bro. Shout out to Capes. Shout out to Mavstar, Face One, Sin. Like, That's another guy you should have on here. Yeah, you gotta have Sin on
coming
here.
I was just listening to his track off of Conflict's new album.
Right.
It's fire.
Facts.
He's dropping, talking all about all the ancestors. And, but yeah, Sin's the man. That was awesome when you guys both rocked at the iHomie premiere.
Oh hell yeah, bro! I'm fucking honored.
Yeah.
Forrest too, MC Forrest, got to shout you out, and DJ Kanga. Big shout out to DJ Kanga.
Go check out the Kanga Vermont Entrepreneurs episode. It's a dope one. Doesn't have nearly as many views as it should, but you guys should go peep that. Kanga's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's been my partner in crime for the last little bit. You know what I mean? All the shows I've been doing recently is all just freestyle.
He's so motivated.
And it's just us together rocking.
He's down.
Yeah.
It's like you call him day of, which I'm not saying to do. You should plan, but but he's just about it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
He's like, yep, I'll make it happen. Shows up, all his equipment. Yeah.
Facts. Although he told me his New Year's resolution was to not take any last minute shows anymore.
All right, I respect that. I respect that. So hit him up in advance. But yeah.
It's a little bit in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, bless up. Boom Slang, fucking all the homies around.
Yeah. I mean, anytime I'm like, yo, you got any shout outs? People are like, well, fuck, you did a damn good job. You covered fucking quite a few there.
Hell yeah.
Nice. And shout out your bro and all the homies in Connecticut there.
Most definitely.
And if we didn't say you, I mean, you know who you are.
Yeah.
It's like, what do the kids say? IYKY. Yeah, if you know, you know. Yeah, see? Might be getting old, but not too old for like lingo and all that shit. Anyway, hey, Golden Hour, episode 21 with a one-of-a-kind guest, MC Humble.
21.
All right, and we out.
Peace.